Good afternoon and welcome to the Pitlochry Common Good Fund Committee, and today, Monday the 25th of November. Can I welcome members to the meeting and also to anyone watching or participating online. If we'd ask the clerk whether there are any apologies and a roll call of the members present. Thank you.
Thanks, Convener. Yeah, we've just had one apology this afternoon from Councillor Lang. We have Provost McDade online, so I'll just ask him to confirm that he can hear us.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. All other members are present in the chambers.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the agenda, then item 2, are there any declarations of interest? Don't expect there to be. No, okay, thank you. Item 3 are the minutes of the last meeting of the Pitlochry Common Good Fund of the 26th of August.
John, unfortunately, I think I may have a declaration of interest with regard to the Pitlochry Town Hall Users Group.
Fair enough, yes. Okay, that's fine, thank you, that's noted. Thank you. In terms of the minutes of the previous meeting of the 26th of August, which are before us for approval, can we agree the minute?
Agreed.
Okay, thank you. I don't think there are any matters arising from that minute specifically. But if we could move to item 5, which is a report to do with Pitlochry Common Good Assets. I think it's maybe Fiona Lambie is going to take us through that paper, please.
I'm going to take you through it, Councillor.
Alison, sorry, beg your pardon.
It's all right. I think you've given Fiona a heart attack, but to be fair, Fiona has done all the work, so I'm just getting the chance to talk to it today. Following on from the last committee meeting, we have brought back a report on the Pitlochry Common Good Assets. By way of introduction, it's important to note that there are a number of policies and guidelines which the Council adheres to when accounting for common good assets. These include the Local Authority Scotland Accounts Advisory Committee guidelines. The Council has also adopted a policy for the treatment of common good assets, and our common good statements are audited annually by Audit Scotland. When common good assets are used for the purpose of Council service delivery, the asset will be included within the Council's General Fund balance sheet, as the Council controls the use of the property and accepts the associated risks and rewards of ownership. All expenditure and income arising from its operation will be in the Council's financial statements. Appendix 1 provides the 3-year costs of both Pitlochry Town Hall and the Riachan Road car park. In terms of the Town Hall, there are annual ongoing costs associated with its operation. In terms of the car park, an appropriate allocation of income and expenditure has been made based on the number of bays on the common good land. The appendix shows that although a surplus has been made, the EV chargers are costing more in terms of energy and maintenance than what is being generated in fees. Over 3 years, there would still be a deficit from the car park. And although a surplus in year 3, as the report points out, there are a number of other costs in respect of car parks which are borne in the trading account, which we have not attempted to make an allocation to these costs. Paragraph 3.18 also highlights the sort of costs which can be experienced for works such as resurfacing. For example, an estimated 38,000 in 2025 for the common good share in the car park. This report was requested as the committee was considering protecting the reserves of the Pitlochry Common Good Fund, which are in the region of £10,000. Agreeing to option 1 will ensure that the fund is protected by the ongoing running costs and any future maintenance costs of Pitlochry Common Good assets, as these would be met from the general fund. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Alison. Do members have any questions on the report? Yeah, Councillor Williamson.
Yeah, I just wonder, this has been a bone of contention over many years where common goods tend to take the profits and the general fund takes the liabilities. And I'm just wondering, is Pitlochry any different from other common good properties or not?
No, in
Alison?
general, I think in general they are all borne within the general fund. So if it's an operational asset, although it's common good, it is, and the benefit is being in the general fund, but it's also the costs are in the general fund as well. So I think there's sometimes a bit of a misconception of, you know, although it's a common good asset, it is being, the costs are being met from the council's general fund. They're not being met by the common good fund. I mean, I think Pitlochry, with only having £10,000, I think when you look at the amount of costs that are being incurred in the Pitlochry, you know, through these two assets, then the fund would not be able to sustain that on an ongoing basis. So, in general, if they're being used and they're then they are being accounted for through the general fund.
So Alison, could I come back? So what you've just said there is that the common good fund will pick up the liabilities as well as the surplus. But I'm not sure, does any other common good funds have that same criteria attached to it, that there are common good properties in, well, Stuart is next to me, he's got Crieff, for example. Does Crieff Common Good Fund pick up the liabilities, or is it just left that it survives on the interest?
So you're talking about the interest on the reserves?
No, I'm talking about the common good asset, because so we have common good assets, and my understanding has always been is any profits from that common good asset would therefore arrive at the within the common good account. But what you're saying there is that if we take option 2, for example, we would also potentially be liable for the liabilities associated with the management of the common good assets too. Is that correct?
Yes. So I don't
Yeah,
think we have any common good funds that are benefiting from the surplus. I think Donald's on the call. I don't know if Donald, you want to clarify that. He's maybe not on the call.
Nice here.
I'm here.
Oh, yes, yeah.
With regards to the common good assets, I mean, they're all treated the same. You'll find a lot of the smaller boroughs have town halls, for example, but that's met by the general fund, as Alison said. The costs are met by the general fund because the funds just don't have the balances for the upkeep of these properties. The only exceptions to these are in terms of sites that we have got ground leases, whereby there's no onus on the council as landlord for the upkeep of the sites. Now that comes into play at the likes of Perth Common Good Fund as rental income from ground leases at Friarton. Crieff Common Good Fund has rental income from the fishing rights, and there's no liability in the council for that. So that's the only exceptions to the rule. I mean, if there's any other assets, so say if there was an asset in Pitlochry, it was purely income generating and there was no liability in the council, the Common Good Fund would get the income from that, but unfortunately that's not the case.
Okay, thank you. Provost McDade.
Thanks, convener, and thank you to Alison, Fiona, and Donald for preparing the report here. We've had quite a lot of debate locally around whether the common good is benefited by the current arrangements, and I think obviously the numbers in the report would suggest they are. I think one of the things I suppose that would perhaps change this dynamic slightly, I suppose, would be if, following on from what Mr. Coyne has just said, if the land that currently is within the common goods ownership at the car park in Riacan Road didn't actually have electric car chargers, it would be a relatively passive income coming in, albeit with some capital costs at certain points. I think I'm not quite sure how often that car park is resurfaced, but not very often. So, 20 years, let's say, maybe with a bit of patching in between times. Over that period, if there wasn't electric car charging points on it, so you take out the energy and maintenance issues, if it was just a car park where it was receiving a fairly passive income, would that exceed the capital costs over a long period of time, whether that's 10 or 20 years?
I think we're possibly getting into the hypothetical now. I mean, I think, the examples that Donald gave was when there's rental and there is no liability. I think, what we're saying is you cannot run a car park, irrespective of whether there's EV chargers on it, without there being other costs. And there are costs that are borne at the moment by the car park trading account, which we haven't tried to apply here. There are resurfacing costs. There's ongoing collection of cash, etc. So there are ongoing costs. So it's difficult to say that to look into the future or to take out, say we're going to ignore the EV chargers because they are now as part of the car park. I don't know if Donald wants to add anything.
I think that's a fair comment in terms of the EV chargers. I mean, and we're trying to predict what might happen, but unfortunately we can't really do that. So it's no, I'm happy with what Alison said there. That's fine.
Okay, thank you. As I understand it, obviously we have, I suppose, like two types of assets. We've either got property or we have cash, and the interest on the cash goes into the common good fund, and common good fund gets the use of that. But as far as the property is concerned, there are risks and rewards, and because the council operates that, they take the risks and they take the rewards if there are any. And that's the question that we've been asked today. Do the common good fund want to assume the risks and rewards of the property as well as the benefits of the interest? I have a couple of questions in relation to the table. There seems to be, I don't know if you can answer them specifically, but a big increase in the insurance and water costs at the town hall this year compared to previous years. I don't know why specifically that might be. Are either of you aware of why insurance
Fiona,
has
do
jumped
you have any information on that? I know Fiona collated that information, although we did get it from our property colleagues. So
sure.
Yeah, sorry, no, I don't have any information. I think it's possibly to do with the current situation with Pitlochry, in that it's currently being looked at the future of it, and it could well be that some of the insurance costs were previously picked up by the ALIO, Live Active Leisure, that use it, and I think some of the insurance costs are being transferred over, but I would need to look into that.
Okay, thank you for that. Another thing is, it's possibly more a comment than a question, but I note that the EV income is £65,000, but the costs of energy and maintenance is 78,000 roughly. So significantly higher than the money that we get in from that, and principally that's what's contributed mostly to the you know, the costs this year. But I suppose that's just more a comment than anything. Are there any other questions in relation to? Sorry, Provost McDade.
Thanks, convener. I mean, I think rather than a question, it's more of a comment. And I mean, I think the report's really helpful from my point of view, although we only saw it at the end of last week, and we haven't really had time to fully consider it, and the public haven't had time to be made aware of it and consider it. And I think just given that a lot of the concerns, I mean, I obviously raised first back in 2019, but more recently it has been raised by a number of members of the community, most recently at the Community Council earlier this month. I think it would be appropriate for us to defer a final decision on how we wish to proceed until such time as we've had an opportunity to relay this information at the next Community Council meeting, for example. I mean, I don't think there's any massive rush to make a decision, whether it's option one to leave it as current policy, or whether it's to change policy, which I think would be something that would require a lot more consideration if it was the decision. But I think given that a lot of the questions have come from members of the public, and most recently, as I say, at Pitlochry Community Council, I think it would be appropriate to defer final decision at the moment and come back to this in the new year once we've had time to consult key stakeholders. And there also may be other factors such as the potential community asset transfer of Pitlochry Town Hall, which is a common good asset, which could play into decisions on this front. So I would be minded to move for a deferral at the moment.
Thank you, Provost. I think I would support that line. It is a fairly complicated, and there's a lot to it and a bit to consider, and I think it'd be worthwhile taking a little bit more time to look into this before we make a decision, which is quite a significant decision for the Common Good Fund in terms of its risk and rewards. So I would be happy to second that. I don't know if any other members are otherwise minded. We're happy to support that. Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. I think we're all agreed. Stuart, beg your pardon.
Just to say, looking at my diary, the next meeting of the Common Good Funds is on Monday, the 27th of January. So that effectively gives you 2 months.
Yeah.
I think one's always hesitant about maybe kicking the can down the road, but it seems appropriate here. And maybe there are some complex considerations. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
No, thank you, Councillor Johnson. That's useful to know. Yeah. Okay, I think we're all agreed that we defer the decision on this until the next meeting of the Pitlochry Common Good Committee. That being the case, that concludes our business for today. Thank you.